Well, welcome back. Jamie Dimon has been chairman and CEO of JPMorgan Chase since 2005, steering the nation's largest bank through booms and busts, all with growth. His current executive team and supposed successors include JPMorgan president Daniel Pinto, as well as two women who are co-running the consumer business, Marianne Lake and Jennifer Piepsack, who co-preside over the company's massive consumer business. I asked Dimon who he would like to see in his chair when he decides to step back. Jamie, you've led JPMorgan masterfully. You really did. Congratulations to you. I know you've got, 3-4 more years on the contract, but of course you think about succession. Do you have in your head who you know you would like to have as your successor, Jamie? Do you know?
No. I think, first of all, it's a board decision, but I think the board has in its mind 5 people that they would, or 6, that they should know the ones who can do it and think are very quality, and we think about it like every day.
I feel like you'd like to see it be a woman.
I would never say that. I mean, I'd be happy to be a woman, but I wouldn't say it should be a woman.
You've promoted so many women in the firm, I guess, is what I'm suggesting.
Yes, because they're good.
Yeah,
I think,
great point, yeah.
Maria, you and I, in a representative government, want representation, but when it comes to that job, it's got to be the best person.
And
I'm thrilled with the women, some of our senior women. I'm thrilled with some of our senior men. We have some really great people at this company.
Are you going to do like a horse race like Jack Welch did?
I doubt it. I mean, look, obviously when you have when succession is public, people are going to write about stuff like that. I applaud with James Gorman how he handled the whole thing from top to bottom. So
that's true, yeah.
Hopefully this will be smooth and good and understandable.
So what about the future, Jamie? What kind of a 24 are you expecting?
Yeah. So, I look at when you say we had a strong year, we acknowledge we're over-earning on NII and credit and stuff like that. And, of course, I'm much less worried about the economy and the strong year and what's going to happen next year than the geopolitical stuff. That stuff is about the freedom of the Western world for the next 100 years. So I'm not comparing that really to the economy this year. And so, for JPMorgan, we're going to serve our clients in 2024, 2025, whatever the environment brings. We always say that we don't know what the environment's going to be. Look at the range of outcomes. Can we handle them? And, the answer is yes. Stock prices are up. Consumers in good shape. But the extra money that they got during COVID, trillions of dollars, that's kind of running out. And looks to us like it's going to run out sometime. It's been pushed out and out for a whole bunch of different reasons, but it runs out this year. The government has a huge deficit, which will affect the markets. But I'm a little skeptical in this kind of Goldilocks kind of scenario. I still think the chance of it not being a soft landing are higher than other people. That's not terrible. It might be a mild recession or heavy recession. Obviously, all of us in business have to know how to deal with, the ups and downs of vicissitudes of the economy. But I do think the cross currents are pretty high. The money running out, rates are high. QT hasn't happened yet. QT may bite. I expect it to, by the way, that you'll see more volatility, particularly unwanted in Treasury markets because of QT.
So are we going to see that recession this year?
Yeah, it's a possibility. I think they did the right thing to raise rates. I think it was a little late, and I think they're doing the right thing just to wait and see what happens. And as you said, it takes a while to see the full effect of that. And there are other financial conditions out there, but all of those factors may very well push us to a recession, and as opposed to a soft landing.
Where does the Fed fit in, Jamie? Right now, it's pretty much priced in. We're going to get 3 rate cuts this year, possibly 2 or 3 rate cuts in 2025. Do you agree with that?
I'm a skeptic. I think that because of fiscal spending and other factors, and let me list them for you for a second. I look at a lot of things and forget just economic models for a second. $2 trillion of fiscal deficit, the Infrastructure and IRA Act, the green economy, the remilitarization of the world, the restructuring of trade are all inflationary. And that looks a little bit more like the 1970s to me. So I think there's a chance that people should be prepared for that inflation comes down, but then bounce around 3, maybe even bounces up a little bit, and those implied curves will change. And then, are people ready for that? I'm not sure, but I just give that a higher chance than other people give it.
Let me layer out all of the new regulations that are coming, and of course I know you've spoken quite a bit about this, the required capital levels for the major banks as we are now nearing the end of the comment period for the Basel III endgame proposals with regulators. What is your assessment of these proposals?
Yeah, I can't wait for you all to see and read, if you're willing to, the hundreds of pages of comments that are very specific about operational risk capital. These capital costs will be embedded in everything. And some people have said to me, well, big corporations can afford it. No, but big corporations will also pass it on to their customers. So it will be passed on in a million different ways. What bothers me the most is no one ever looked at it and said, here's the outcome of these changes. And we want these outcomes. The outcome should be what you want. So, the mortgage business is leaving banking, a lot of credit's leaving banking. And if that's what the regulators want, so be it. But I do have other serious concerns with this thing. We'd have to hold 30% more capital in the U.S. than competitors, foreign competitors in the U.S. I don't think that's appropriate. I have strong objections to it. I think the work was poorly done.
Is it more of an issue of how much capital you have to hold relative to how much capital your foreign competitors are holding? Or is it more of an issue that these rules are really targeting the most complex and large, in size institutions, which of course is JPM?
Yeah, it's both. It's one is the unfair, U.S. capital has to hold a lot more capital. Basel set these standards. They've been analyzed for years, and for the most part, European banks, the capital numbers won't change. But it's also the effect on very specific things: mortgages, small business loans, hedging by farmers. As you point out, there are other huge flaws in there. We already have stress capital in the CCAR, and now there's stress capital added through this trading book stuff. It's just double counting. We already have operational risk capital in one thing, and I think that operational risk capital and G-SIFI, I hate to bore your audience, they are both, in my view, just completely asinine. They do not in any way, shape, or form adjust for risk. So actually, banks who want to reduce risk, being diversified is a good thing. Both those things are anti-diversification. And I just don't get the thought that went into all that stuff. So I'm waiting to see their response to this. And, I can't wait for people to delve into the numbers and actually answer the question, are the complaints right or wrong? Not just, are they complaints?
There's also new regulation coming on Bitcoin, and you famously said recently that you would shut it down if you were in government. Can you give us more clarity on that?
Yeah, what I was also pointing out is that the actual use cases are sex trafficking, tax avoidance, anti-money laundering, terrorism financing. It's not people just buying and selling Bitcoin. There's no value to if you're buying and selling Bitcoin.
A lot there from Jamie Dimon and Adam.